Hello and welcome to Cosmological Arguments. I'm your host, John Bannan. The argument from rules. The argument from rules proves the existence of God by demonstrating that the laws of physics applied over a finite universe must have a beginning caused by an uncaused, immaterial cause of the beginning of physical reality we call God. We observe from the universe that physical reality follows unchanging rules known as the laws of physics. We also observe that energy and matter in the universe is only conserved. We also can conclude that the universe is finite because we observe that the universe has only had a finite age during which to expand. Any unchanging rule applied over a finite interval must have a finite interval of results bounded by a beginning and end point. We also observe from the universe that cause precedes effect, which effect is then a cause for the next effect. We thus observe that the present moment of physical reality is the result of the laws of physics being applied to the preceding moment of physical reality. Because each moment of physical reality is derived from the prior moment under unchanging laws of physics, then physical reality changes in an orderly fashion. Because physical reality changes in an orderly fashion, then physical reality must proceed in an orderly fashion across a finite interval of results heading from beginning to end point. Thus, physical reality must begin and end. Because physical reality and the universe must have begun, then there must be a cause to that beginning. The cause of the beginning of physical reality cannot be physical reality because physical reality cannot logically cause itself to begin. It is illogical circular reasoning to assume the existence of physical reality in demonstrating a cause for the beginning of physical reality. Moreover, the beginning of physical reality cannot cause itself, because physical reality cannot exist prior to its existence. This immaterial cause of the beginning of physical reality must be uncaused, because there is nothing available to cause it. This immaterial being cannot be self-created, because it is impossible for something to cause itself, because it cannot exist before it is created. We call this uncaused, immaterial cause of the beginning of physical reality God. So the argument from rules proves that the universe and physical reality has to begin and end. This argument proves that infinite regress of physical reality or the universe or the cosmos is impossible. That means that there must be an immaterial, uncaused cause of physical, the beginning of physical reality that we all refer to as God. So, the laws of physics are unchanging. Now, when you take a rule like the laws of physics, let's say A plus B would be a rule. And you take a finite interval. So let's say from 1 to 2. So in this analogy, the unchanging rule is the laws of physics. The laws of physics are unchanging rules of the behavior of physical reality. And the finite interval from 1 to 2 is the finite universe. And we know the universe is finite because it's only had a finite amount of time to expand since its origin, its beginning. So it's only had 13.8 billion years to expand. So you can only expand so much in 13.8 billion years, which means it has to be finite. Not only that, there's also the principle of conservation of energy and mass, which means there isn't more universe being created or destroyed for that matter. Rather, the universe is simply being conserved. All the energy and matter in the universe is being conserved, but it's changing form. So that would be finite. That, by analogy, that would be like this finite interval. So when you take a rule and you apply it to any 2 points in this finite interval, you get results. So a plus b, pick any two numbers between here, and you get a result. So if you pick 1 and 1.5, your result is 2.5. And there can be an infinite number of points between 1 and 2, or a finite number of points. But the results will always be bounded by certain finite beginning and end points. So in this mathematical analogy to what goes on in the universe, it doesn't matter whether the universe is infinitely divisible, like a number line would be with infinitesimals, or whether it is non-continuous with discrete indivisible units of reality, a finite discrete number of units on that line. It doesn't matter. This argument works regardless of whether the nature of physical reality is continuous or non-continuous at the smallest scales. So what you can say, though, is when you pick two numbers between this interval and put it into the rule, the results you get will be bounded by two finite endpoints. And those endpoints would be take the lowest number, 1, on the interval, apply that to the rule, so you get 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then take the highest number on the finite interval and take that number and apply it to the rule. So you get 2 plus 2 equals 4. So all the results from applying this finite interval to this rule will have to be in this finite interval between 2 and 4. They have to fall here somewhere. So because we have an unchanging laws of physics, like this rule, and because the universe is finite, then whatever the universe does in all of time and space, it still has to lie between these two endpoints. So it definitely has a beginning and an end. Has to. Um, so in the universe, we observe that cause precedes effect, and then that effect is in turn a cause for the next effect. So we can tell from the universe that time unfolds in an orderly fashion. The previous moment of physical reality is what causes the effect being the present moment of physical reality. And the present moment of physical reality in turn causes the next moment of physical reality. And that determination of what gets caused is that the present moment of physical reality is applied to the unchanging laws of physics. That determines what the next moment of physical reality is going to be. That is a very orderly process. And it has to be, because this present moment's order applied to the same rule produces the next moment's order. And therefore, it's an orderly process. So when you talk about the results of each moment of physical reality as applied to the laws of physics, we don't have a situation where physical reality is jumping all over the place among its possible permutations of reality. Instead, it's an orderly process because the present moment is based on the prior moment, and the next moment is based on the present moment, applied to the same unchanging laws of physics. So you have an orderly process. So the unfolding of physical reality has to be orderly. It can't jump around. So it's gotta be orderly. It has to proceed in an orderly fashion. Well, because it has to proceed in an orderly fashion, then that means it has to proceed among the results in an orderly fashion. And that means it can only go from beginning to end, because that's the only way to proceed in an orderly fashion. So the universe has to unfold like that. So it goes from beginning to end. And that's exactly what we see in the universe. We see the beginning with the Big Bang, and many physicists tell us the universe will end in a heat death. And that's all because the laws of physics are unchanging and the universe is finite and doesn't get any more energy or mass. And because we have these unchanging laws of physics, there's got to be an orderly unfolding of the universe, which means its only choice is to go from beginning to end. But it also means it must have a beginning and it must have an end. Now, because physical reality has to have a beginning, then something has to cause the beginning of physical reality. And that cause cannot be physical reality itself, because that would be circular reasoning. You can't presume the existence of physical reality in concluding the cause of physical reality. And physical reality can't create itself, because that's illogical, because then physical reality would have to exist in order to cause itself before it existed. That's illogical. So we're talking about an immaterial, non-physical cause for the beginning of physical reality. And moreover, that cause itself has to be uncaused, because there's nothing available to cause it. There's no physical reality, so there's nothing available to cause it. It can't be caused. And it can't cause itself, because again, that's illogical, because you'd have to exist prior to your existence in order to cause yourself. So it has to be an uncaused, immaterial cause of the beginning of physical reality. And that's what we call God. All right. So if you want to use a symbol for this argument, the argument from rules, I would use this symbol. So this represents the finite interval, which is the universe, and that it must have a beginning and an end. So I hope you learned something. The argument from rules is a very powerful argument, which proves that physical reality, the universe, the cosmos, had to have a beginning and an end. And it proves infinite regress is impossible. Because of that, God must exist. All right. Take care.